Today, we modify the FK8 Civic Type R and do a set of baseline dyno pulls and compare that to the Hondata flash tune, and then we pro tune the car after 2. We then install a catted AFE downpipe intake, catback, and some other goodies and put the car back on the dyno to check out the power gains. I have in my hands a Hondata Flash Pro for Civic Type R, the FK8, the new Civic Type R. And today we are going on a mission to find a little bit more data off of what the Civic Type R can do with this device. So we are handing it over to the capable hands of Sasha from OnPoint Dyno, who's got the key and he's got the Flash Pro, and that's all he needs.
Alright, let's tune.
Let's tune.
Turbo.
Woo! Finally, Honda gets on board with the turb skis. It is a windy day outside, in case you don't notice. And there it is, the quiet purr of the Civic Type R's exhaust. Before upgrades, we decided to put the Civic Type R as is on the dyno to get some baseline numbers. .272 wheel horsepower and 312 pound-feet of torque, which is not bad, obviously, for a completely stock vehicle. And we're gonna get the Hondata going. Boom, boom, and we'll see what the car will do after we tune it. After one run with the OTS tune from Hondata, it became apparent that the map out of the box was a bit too aggressive for Canadian 91 octane gas. With a bit of tuning from Sasha, we were able to have a power band that was smoother and less prone to knock. The power output was virtually the same, and the boost was dropped from 24.5 psi to 21.5 psi at approximately 295 wheel horsepower. So the dyno results are done, and now the car's back onto the hoist. It's going to get a turbo back exhaust along with an intake, radiator, and some lowering springs. After we're done with all that, we're going to put it back onto the dyno, put it into the capable hands of Sasha from OnPoint Dyno to see what we can get in terms of power after the modifications. First up for install was the AFE catted downpipe. This downpipe is made in the USA and uses a high flow cat to reduce the restriction compared to a stock unit and allow for more power. Next up was a Koyo Radiator, as our client plans on tracking the car and wanted to keep the car running nice and cool. Notable upgrades on the Koyo Rad over the stock are the metal end tanks at the top and bottom, and the core appearing to be about 3/4 of an inch thicker for added cooling capacity. James, you're so good at lowering the subframe on the Civic Type R now. Since the Civic Type R is a quick car, we want it to sound like a quick car. The Invidia R400 not only looks the part, but will provide a much needed boost in sound. It also comes with a nicer polished stainless steel finish and titanium tips to make it more aesthetically pleasing than the OEM unit. Invidia also opted to keep the awesome triple tip center exit similar to the OEM design, and it perfectly suits how over the top this car looks from the factory. Since the factory dampers are electronically active and very well engineered, we start off with a set of iBox springs to lower the car's center of gravity and give it a more sporty look. And last but not least, we installed the Takeda Intake from AFE to activate more induction noises and increase airflow. With the intake and exhaust modifications, the sound of the car finally matched the aggressive styling and performance of the car. The springs eliminated the unwanted wheel gap and provided a lower center of gravity for reduced body roll. After some final checks, we then prepared the car for the dyno once again to see the results. Alright, so this is pretty much the end run for the Civic Type R using the Hondata Flash Pro. We've got some mods in there now, and Sasha, what'd you think about tuning the car?
Yeah, so definitely a different experience, more like German cars than classical Hondas. Obviously, the Bosch ECU knows what's going on. There's not a lot of fuel tuning that can be done. It's mostly ignition timing and load or torque request and boost tuning. So the main thing here is basically tuning for the fuel that's in the car and tuning for the climate. So in our case, we've got a fairly cold climate, and the factory maps that come from Hondata are just a little bit too aggressive, and they start to max out the high pressure fuel pump. So we actually lower the boost a little bit to keep it safe, and actually by lowering the boost and running a little bit more timing, we were actually able to make the same torque and power. So we're down at 2 psi lower with the same power and torque everywhere. So definitely a better setup. Going to be easier on the compressor and the turbo, especially with the stock intercooler on this one. So those are the gains over our tune with the factory configuration. So we're up about 15 wheel horsepower on average, kind of more or less across the board, about 20 pound-feet of torque down low. So certainly the downpipe and the intake are worth doing, and I think with a larger intercooler that seems to be the big upgrade for these cars.
Yeah, getting a large intercooler in there, helping out the small turbo, getting good gas.
Yeah, right. If this car had 94 octane in the intercooler, we'd probably see some significant gains. One thing to note with these things is the ECU is really bases a lot around air temperature. So if it's hot outside, if the intercooler is too small, if the compressor's heat soaking, any of those things, and the ECU is going to start reducing the power that it's applying. So I believe this car is going to be really, in winter highway poles, it's going to be like a monster, and then in the middle of the summer when it's really hot, you're probably going to see a fair bit of power reduction. So big intercooler, whatever you can do to keep those air temps down with this small turbo is really the key to making consistent power.
The Honda Civic Type R has long proven to be a formidable track car. Now available in North America in turbocharged form, the car has more potential and tunability than ever. The car made very impressive power considering it had Canadian 91 octane in the car at the time. Since ECU prioritization favors lower air temperatures, the next steps for this Type R to make more power is to upgrade the intercooler and run some higher octane gas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to see more content like this.